Welcome to Not So Obvious Watches. I'm Pete McConville. Today I want to talk about what I think Seiko is going to do a little bit in 2020, but more what I think Seiko is going to look like out through the next 4 to 5 years. Now, this is not the video I was going to make. This video, I was going to be doing another one on Ariel Adams and what came out of Dubai. But there was a nice symmetry between this time now and this time last year. It was this time last year I started this channel inspired by a video I saw in chatting with John P. And so when I saw John P's video on Seiko and where it was going and how I thought there was things I wanted to add to it, the symmetry was too much for me. I decided I really had to go ahead with this video. So first off, the video from John P is very good. I'd suggest you go see it. I don't disagree with much of what he said, but I don't think he really captured everything that's happening. I think he made a mistake that is very common, particularly to Westerners. I say that because I don't know if the Japanese and Chinese are smarter than us and have worked it out. But certainly in the West, I don't think we've truly grasped Seiko's long game, which is hard to believe because Seiko's just told us what that long game is. I started touching on this myself about 6 months ago in a video I did in response to an article between the president of Seiko and a journalist from Watch Time. I'll have a link to that video below. You can go, a link to that article below. You can go read that. In there, the article was mostly talking about the growth of Grand Seiko, but then they started to touch on what else is going on in Seiko. And at that point, there were still just rumors about the SKX dying. It wasn't real yet. But the journalist was asking questions about what the relationship was between Grand Seiko and Seiko. And I don't think he was really listening to the answers because he missed two very important words. And he misused two words. And it's the same two words that I hear John P. and pretty much everyone else missing when they talk about Seiko. The president of Seiko kept saying over and over again that he is in charge of many brands, that PROSPEX is a brand, Presage is a brand, Astron is a brand, and within those brands there are lines. So within the PROSPEX line brand there is a sea line, there is a land line, etc. And that would be the same for all the other brands. In response, the journalist kept saying, so what's going on in the PROSPEX line? What's going on in the Presage line? And that misunderstanding sounds trivial, but it's actually incredibly significant, because if you don't pick up on the fact that Presage and PROSPEX and Astron and Cultura are brands, then you won't pick up on the fact that Seiko is acting more and more like a group. Seiko is less and less thinking of itself as a single consolidated company and is more and more acting like Richemont or like Swatch. Go look at their website if you don't believe me. They don't have, where it has PROSPEX, they're under the heading of brands. If you go into the PROSPEX line, it then has the lines. Sorry, into the PROSPEX brand. So even I trip over it, then you can see the lines within it. And if you go back and look at that Watch Time article, the president is absolutely clear when he makes a statement down below that it is wrong-headed to think of the relationship between PROSPEX and Grand Seiko as sort of an upper and a lower tier, that you somehow start with PROSPEX and graduate to Grand Seiko. He makes it very clear. He comes straight out and says these are different brands with different demographics, serving different wants and needs. There may well be significant overlap in price because it's not as though one is structured to be above the other in price. It's just that they serve different markets, and that if there's an overlap in price, so be it. And that is a nuance that John P. and pretty much everyone else that's commented on Seiko and where they're going has missed. What we think of as lines within a single consolidated brand are in fact independent brands with their own marketing, pursuing their own directions, pursuing their own demographics, and pursuing their own pricing structures, regardless of what's going on elsewhere. And unless you understand that, A, you won't be able to really figure out why Seiko is doing the things it's doing right now, and B, you won't really see what's coming. And what I see coming is that this will continue to occur, in that I fully expect that in the future, and I'm thinking within the next 5 to 6 years, that same corporate division that we've now seen between Grand Seiko and the remainder of the Seiko group will actually be replicated for the other brands. I expect to see PROSPEX break off into their own complete corporate structure. I expect to see the same with Presage. I would not be surprised to see the others go as well. And what I would not be surprised to see completely independent PROSPEX boutiques, completely independent Presage boutiques. I think that is where we're going. Will there be overlap between these? Absolutely, because each brand is increasingly going to be expected to stand and fall on its own and not be part of some consolidated Seiko. Do I think that Seiko will vanish off the dial of a PROSPEX watch or a Presage watch in the same way as the separate Seiko has vanished from the dial of a Grand Seiko? In the long run, I think it might. Even if it doesn't, I would not be at all surprised to see a reversal of the priority, so that the PROSPEX logo, the PROSPEX name will become more and more prominent on the dials of PROSPEX watches and Presage on Presage watches, whilst the Seiko shrinks and moves into the background. So that's what I think we are going to see. I think we are going to see a continual strengthening of PROSPEX and Presage in particular as standalone brands. We're going to see them grow and fill out and expand, continue to expand upwards. They're not going to be in any way hindered by a concern of overlapping with Grand Seiko. I think that you will in fact see more and more of that overlapping as we move forward. I think that in future we will be talking less about Seiko and more about the brands within it. Or if we are talking about Seiko, we're going to be talking about Seiko in the same way as we're talking about Swatch or Richemont. So that's my thought on Seiko in 2020 and beyond. What are your thoughts? Do you think it'll work? Do you think it's a fool's errand? Do you think that the corporate value of Seiko is so great that they'd be foolish to force that into the background? Or conversely, do you think that the idea of Seiko becoming something like Swatch, where only the low end keeps the name Seiko, as in exactly the same way as only the low end of Swatch has the name Swatch, and all the high end stuff gets its own branding? Do you think that'd be a good idea? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, like it. If you want to hear more like this and other sort of off the sort of left field looks at what's going on in the watch industry and with watches, subscribe. Even if you don't, subscribe anyway. And thanks very much. I've been Pete McConville, and I'll see you later. Bye.